Man, I just have to respond to this thing that I saw go across Daddy Warpig's timeline here for the Twitter Twatter site. And I'm like, I want my fiance to get rid of his 5-year-old daughter. My 32-year-old fiance has a 5-year-old daughter. Her mother passed away when she was giving birth to her. He has been raising her ever since he lost his wife, with the help of his family, of course. I am now in the picture, and we're going to get married in 2023. I'm 6 months pregnant with his son. I'm not the stepmother type, so I know I won't treat his daughter the same way I will treat our son. To be quite honest, she annoys me. She looks exactly like her mother, so she constantly reminds me of my fiance, of his dead wife, and she's very attached to her daddy, which makes me afraid that my son will not be able to bond with his father because of her. Basically, I want to tell my fiance to get rid of her so she can live with her grandparents, or we can find her a nice couple that wants to adopt a child. I don't know how to approach the situation, but I need to find a way to convince my fiance to get rid of her. I'm not a bad person. I'm just trying to look out for my son and make sure that he will get all his father's attention that he deserves. Please help. Wow. Oh boy. Jesus, lady. Get some help. Get some help right now. Even if that kid's not your own, most normal people wouldn't throw away another person's child. Okay? You're proving the whole wicked stepmother trope correct. Woo! Boy, oh boy. Oh, God. And I know this is like more off the cuff reaction, but in a way it does tie into some stuff that I wanted to do with Uplift Protocol, because Anna has she starts off a very rough and tumble way, even in the series. And then as you go further along and keep reading the other books, you eventually, figure out some of the whatnot for the situation. But yeah, it's like, even in my setting, like, I take certain things, but I don't subvert. I try to do the subversive thing and uplift people. So eventually Anna gets her head on straight, but so does Gino in some ways, because they both don't see eye to eye, and they both don't understand each other's pain until much later. But I will credit for the characters I did make. I didn't have them use their kids as cannon fodder against each other. Now, did their kids act out? Sam and Jacob acted out in their teenage years in different ways. Sam tried to take the grab train to her maternal grandparents. She didn't get very far because Golden Bulletier was there to help alleviate certain situations, but he's very, very fast. But I did have them act out a little bit because, it was a relationship that did turn a little bit with a lot of friction here and there. But I made it clear that both kids, the reason why they were acting out is because they still love their mother, even though they found her own ways of venting things to be counterproductive. And it was it's a basic way for me to showcase certain elements to where not everybody has the big perfect life, even in the Uplift Protocol universe, but that in order to attract certain kinds of eyeballs, because every reader will attach to different things in a story. I wanted Anna's arc to be a primary negative to positive arc, and to contrast with the more stable kind of aspect of Thomas's second marriage. Now, in Anna's way, her second marriage is a lot more stable. Even though I haven't featured her family as much in certain aspects, that will play up a little bit more in the novella involving her and Teddy directly. And it's also a little treat for the omnibus collectors. It's just that when it comes to certain things in the story is mainly about Eliza and those directly involved with her. And even though Anna does feature in important parts, especially when tied directly to another certain Murphy kid, the the overall story isn't surrounding Anna, even though a lot of these characters do have various foils and storylines running through the narrative. I try to make sure the storylines that are on the page are the ones that directly feed into the main storyline. So that way I don't get lost in the bushes searching for more trees and that sort of thing. But overall, the interpersonal relationships some of these characters have with each other, man, I am nowhere close to what people can really do with certain kinds of married situations. Oh boy and howdy. For example, even though it's not in the books as much, Anna didn't really heckle Eliza growing up. Most of it started happening once she reached the end of high school, the age of majority. Then Anna, it was like, okay, you know what? Now I'll just, she's no longer a minor, so I'll be fully free to criticize. And that does happen. And it bites her in the ass later, because she gains a reputation for hating demis, gains a reputation for, basically going after her former husband, left, right, and up the middle, like once the kids reached a certain point. And Jacob and Sam, for a while, got soured on that. It's like, all you're doing is you keep digging your own grave. And they didn't want their mother to do that anymore. And which is also the reason why Samantha encouraged Teddy to be like, yeah, hey, I notice you can distract my mom pretty good. Can you help her? Because even from that angle, Samantha realized that her mother needed a stabilizing force. And again, you'll see a lot more of this in the novella. You'll even see a bit more of Jacob and Sam working with their mother and their stepfather in that aspect. But in my series, I wanted it to be more, instead of having a direct father-son relationship with the stepfather or a direct, mother-daughter relationship in the case of Gino and Samantha, it'd be more like an aunt and uncle thing. Like, they're part of the family, but it doesn't have the same, personal connotation to it. And both Gino and Teddy don't want to try to supplant the other kids like mom or dad. They want to help, but they're not so cold-hearted as to kick everybody to the curb and oh, this is my kid versus there's that kid from that former marriage. No, I'd never set out to make any of these characters that freaking callous unless they're the actual, I don't know, villain. Yeah, the villains in my series are very callous, unfeeling, pure evil, and that's just the way I go about it. I don't have shades of gray in many of these characters. I don't want those kinds of situations in my series. It's either you're plainly on the side of good or you're plainly on the side of evil. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. I mean, heck, even in this novella, you'll see a little bit of a pretty blunt conversation Eliza will have with Anna eventually. It's gonna be pretty fun, at least from my viewpoint, and I hope all the readers, eventually, once you get your hands on the omnibuses as well, I hope everybody will have fun. Now, the one novella that will be included with the regular books is the Trevelyan Surprise stuff, because that is actually very pertinent to the main story. It's just going to be like a little breather in between the two books. So I'll probably add it on to the end of book 6, just to be like a little side cap to that overall part of the story. But yeah, the rest of the novellas, the Hollow Earth stuff, Doc and a certain Mr. Gulliver, and a couple of others. I'm definitely going to throw in a little bit of the Accord War with Poppy. It's mainly there for people if they want to see a little bit of expanded thing on certain characters and certain time frames. Really, I'm just having fun outlining all this, and I've actually gotten 2 of the novellas done. So I'm just going like back and forth. Like, I am powered by caffeine, everyone. I am powered by caffeine. But yeah, when it comes to certain kinds of personality types in your own books, there's always some real life example that is 1,000 times worse than what you think would happen. Oh, and my. Like, even in her darkest days, Anna wouldn't consciously go after a 5-year-old kid and be like, oh yeah, I want you, Teddy, I want you to throw this kid away. Like, say if the situation was reversed. It's like, I want you to get rid of your kid from a previous marriage. Like, no. Anna wouldn't do that to a kid. That's the reason why she, in her own, hurt sense of reality, she didn't want to target Eliza until she thought Eliza was old enough to take on, like, well, this is how your parents' marriage isn't perfect, like. And it's like, oh, but what she didn't realize is at the time, okay, Eliza has pretty good empath stuff. Sure, she was oblivious to some things for a while, but just seeing the overall, like, just how much pain was curled around Anna, she's just like, oh my goodness, this lady is really digging herself in deep. So you just never know. You just kind of, like, when you're writing characters, just try to see what kind of contrasts work for you. But man, in real life, the misadventure, it continues, and there's even worse people out there. Why do you think I want to write superversive fiction? I'd rather have people listen to the better parts of their hearts if they can. Not the villains, though. The villains are smarmy bastards that will try to ruin everybody's day. Have a good evening, everybody.